Hi everyone, this is Tweek. This is actually Joker's episode, but since the numpty hasn't heard about the delay between pressing the record button and the actual start of the recording, you're only going to hear his being a host from the second sentence. So please enjoy.
Happy New Year to anyone who hasn't listened to our last episode of the previous season. I'm Joker, and with me today is the rest of the team. So that's Tweek, hi mate.
Yellow.
And Vitalis, hello.
Hello, guys.
So we're obviously going to be talking about the elephant in the room. So the recent releases from Games Workshop, which will impact matched play. So the balanced data slate, the chapter approved Arks of Omen Grand Tournament mission pack, or whatever it's called, and the Monitorum Field Manual, so the points changes. I think we should jump straight into it, or maybe let's just talk about how this is going to go. So first we're going to talk about general changes, regardless of the source of those changes, and then we're going to try to go faction by faction. So in there we'll talk about the specific points reductions or increases, the secondary objectives, and however the balanced data slate affects a faction, if at all. So without any further ado, let's jump straight in and talk about the Arks of Omen Detachment. So Tweek, do you want to fill us in how this is working now?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's looking pretty interesting, I must say, where we basically get a single detachment where we now get to choose how we want to build it on our own with just a single HQ, and then 3 of any of the slots that we pick, which is great if somebody doesn't want to stick to just troops or doesn't want to bring any, I don't know, heavy supports or anything like that, which is, you know, absolutely very convenient for even armies like Space Marines that don't have very reliable troops, and you know they don't need to take a battalion now in order to get a higher amount of CPs. So I think this is a good change. And then once you've chosen your HQ and 3 representatives of a single slot, then you get to choose a bunch of things from other slots. I don't have this in front of me now, so is it like 1 per each, like 1 Lord of War, 1 something, or is there more of it?
No, it's 3.
Oh, it's 3. Okay, so you pretty much get what, 6 of every slot that you can bring, 1 HQ and then 6 of every slot. Is that correct?
No, you get through 6 of the chosen ones and then 3 of each other.
Oh, that's insane. That's even more than I thought. So maybe I shouldn't be the one who's who's explaining how this works. But I have this in front of me now. So okay, so 1 HQ, and I guess knights of both kinds don't need to have that. 3 of every slot, and then between 0 to 9 troops and 0 to 3 of everything else apart from flyers, which is absolutely mind-blowing, and I think it will lead to creation of very interesting, or sometimes maybe very biased armies. Not biased, what's the word?
There is also this one
Skewed.
thing.
Skewed, thank you.
Skewed.
There is also this one slot that I initially also missed. If you look closely at the bottom of the graphics, I think everyone saw the graphics by now. There are additional 3 slots for the elites that are just characters. Have you guys noticed that?
Yeah, I think Tweek definitely should notice that one though.
With
Death
DG,
Guard.
yeah.
Death Guard, woohoo!
He could fill all the elite slots with just characters, so that's probably useful.
Yeah, very. I'm looking forward to this already.
Right, so every faction has to take just this detachment, basically.
Is it just this one, or can you also take like an addition of?
No, just this one.
Yeah, it's
confirmed
just that
by
one.
now.
But some factions get to take an allied detachment of another specifically stated faction, in most cases. So Vitalis, maybe you want to fill us in on that.
Yeah, so basically right now, as you guys already said, you get to choose 1 Ark of Omen that's going to be your main detachment in most of the cases, but you can do some fancy shenanigans here that we'll get to that. And then, according to what faction is your main Arks of Omen detachment, you can choose an allied one. Allied detachment is basically another detachment you can take. It's either a super heavy auxiliary, patrol, or auxiliary support detachment. And basing on what is your main faction, you can take one of those three from another faction. So, for example, if you take an Imperium main detachment, you can take either a patrol detachment from Leagues of Votann, or a super heavy auxiliary from Knights, or auxiliary or patrol from Agents of the Imperium. That is interesting because you cannot field patrol detachment of Agents of the Imperium right now. Yeah, and if you, for example, take Drukhari or Craftworld Eldar, you can take Harlequins. If you take Death Guard, you can take one Demon Patrol detachment that is dedicated to Nurgle, and so on and so on and so on. The only exception when you can take three detachments right now is are the Disciples of Be'lakor, where they pretty much remain their old composition, where you can take Demons, CSM, and one House Korvax Knight. So basically, there's a whole page of rules in new book that's saying when you get this, you can take this. When you get this, you can say you can take this. So yeah, it's looking like this right now. So no more mixing of detachments, no more free souping of armies. All that things are gone.
So
Not
wait,
that
so
freely, at least. Actually, I want to make a small correction here. For Agents of the Imperium, you could take an auxiliary support detachment as well. So, you know, the one that used to be just one slot for 2 CP.
I think I mentioned that, but I was
okay.
I was really interested about the patrol. What drove them to including the patrol?
So a couple of questions from me. First of all, does that mean that I can freely take my Death Guard and then complement my list with some proper shooting? So like not take PBCs, but let's say, I don't know, Chaos Knights Helverins, for example.
Yeah.
Yes and no. Yes.
Can you be more specific?
Yes.
No.
Yes, because I noticed that when building my lists today, it wasn't Death Guard, but Dark Angels, but whatever. Yes, you don't pay any CPs right now for the Knights, but no, you really have to read about what those Knights gonna break for you. I mean the doctrines or any army specific.
Okay, yeah. So I think it is described in either the book of the first army or the second army, whether it
exactly.
Like
I think
of Nurgle, for example.
I think your combination doesn't break you anything because the Knight's gonna get Agents of Chaos.
Okay.
Yeah.
So second question, what does that mean for the Drukhari, for example, and their real space rating or whatever it's called?
Well, that's something that we'd like to know, because in a Warhammer community article that appeared prior to the release of this, they've mentioned that the information for Drukhari and Dark Angels, who also have ways to build detachments differently, will be released. I don't remember if it was alongside or in this book as well. And whilst Dark Angels did get an updated FAQ to reflect this, Drukhari have not. So as of today, the only way for them to play to actually get obsessions, so like chapter tactics, for people who don't know the different names for these roles, it would have to be a real space raid. They can't, you know, use free patrols of different sub-factions and benefit from the obsession of each one with that. Yeah.
All right, and then one more thing that I need to understand, Tau commanders, like with this Arks of Omen detachments and the other detachments that you can take, how many commanders can they have?
Two. Just
yes, because the Arks of Omen book introduced a new requisition stratagem that you can use before the battle. For 1 CP, you can bypass the 1 per detachment rule. So either for your Tau commander, either for your Hive Tyrant, either for your Votann, or whatever else comes to mind that has this sort of rule.
Okay. And I think I read somewhere that GSC is still the only army that like cannot duplicate characters or something like that. Is that true?
Yeah, it's specified in the in this stratagem.
I'm sorry, GSC players. That's just so painful. But
GW
okay.
just don't love you guys.
Yeah, unfortunately. Okay.
I think what's also worth noting, whilst we're discussing detachments, is that surprisingly, Chaos Knights cannot take allied demons. At least I think that's a bit of a surprise, and I don't know if there are actually any other bigger surprises, but that's a big one that struck me. What else? Oh, and Tyranids can't take allied Genesteer cults.
Which is a shame because I was looking forward to
that. Yeah, so sorry, mate. Nothing to look forward to anymore.
Yeah, still no working Genestealers for me.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope,
Guys,
nope.
I would like your opinion because I already have mine about this new attachment. What do you guys think about this change?
Joker?
It's I'm a bit on the fence, as I am with many of these changes, actually. But, well, this is obviously a boost for someone that had to pay a troop tax that they might not have wanted to. So, Demons, for example, have expensive troops, although without them you have 0 OPSEC options. But Marines also had expensive troops that didn't really do anything for you. I think Eldar also had, like, you'd either take Rangers for quite a lot of points, or it only gets worse after that. So that might be beneficial to them, as they'd also often take like an Outrider detachment or something. Bloody Necrons will probably benefit as well. They'll still have horrendous amounts of CP and no longer need to take like troop tax, just go full out on Scarabs and Wraiths and whatnot. So, you know, we'll see. I mean, it definitely is a good thing that now gives you much more options to build your army compared to Nephilim, where because of the amount of command points, etc., options were very limited. So in that regard, I think it's good. We might see some new builds, but those builds might be, you know, painful to play against.
Does this Arks of Omen Detachment override the rule of 3?
No.
No.
So okay,
that rule is still there, thankfully.
Okay. Yeah, thankfully, because what I wanted to say initially was, you know, this is going to bring back, like, I don't know, 7th edition or like some nightmares from the past with the allied armies, where first of all, I was scared when I heard about it for the first time that you're going to see Tau and Necrons again or something like that, but luckily not. And then that you're just going to see spam of one thing, and it's going to, you know, cause a bad time for you, which you probably still will with armies like Guard that can take like platoons or squads or whatever they have of tanks and so on. So 9 Leman Russes, I guess, are a thing, and you can bring them if you want. But
actually, right now it's gonna be not 9. Let me count. It's gonna be 14.
If you like, I hope you cannot fit that into 2,000 points game, but
you can with a points to spare.
Speechless. Anyway, so yeah, that's probably the only thing that I'm afraid of, because as usual, with GWs being creative, it's usually, you know, a good-hearted decision, but then there will be players who will probably find a way to abuse the rule set, or to find something cancerous that you just take a lot of one thing, and that thing is going to absolutely demolish the opposition. So I'm just afraid that I don't know what that could be right now, but sooner or later we will have one creative player or another that will bring up a list that will be just so toxic and destructive and non-interactive that we will wish this had never happened. So I just hope this doesn't happen too soon and we get to enjoy our game.
I think what's also worth of note is that you can now actually bring in detachment Lords of War, so they can benefit from faction traits. So like Guard Super Heavy, say Lord of Skulls, Monoliths, that kind of things, if you have any in your army. So I think that's pretty welcome. Might make them more viable. And I think that we can move on from the detachment and let's go into primary missions. So to begin with, 5 missions have absolutely not changed whatsoever. And the ones that did get a change are conversion. So I don't know, do you guys want me to go through it quickly or do you want to weigh in?
No, you can go yourself.
Go ahead, because to be honest, I haven't familiarized with those yet.
All right, so conversion. Okay, I don't remember the number. So you can now get a CP on a 4+ if your warlord's dead, rather than not getting any CP at all. Each turn. And then for Tide of Conviction, it gets a similar change for CP, and then the endgame objective rewards 3 CP for each objective, 3 VP, rather than 2, I think it was. And the next one that's changed is Abandoned Sanctuaries. So now you still cannot forward deploy in it, but you also cannot redeploy during the first battle round, if I'm reading this correctly. So no drop bots landing in no man's land in turn 1. So that's an interesting change. And also the sub-primary objective, let's say, has changed. So the end game condition is gone, and the progressive element awards 2 VP for achieving 1 condition or 3 for both. And the last one is the scouring. I think this is the most significant change because the mission-specific action now ends at the end of the turn rather than in the next command phase, which I think makes it much easier to score a big 45 on the primary. And I don't think that's the best of changes, to be honest, because it just makes it very, very easy to max out points. So games will be closer, but in a way potentially less interactive because, well, everyone's just going to max out. So it's going to be, games might come down to like a spike in some dice rolls or anything. Any thoughts from you guys now that I've got through that?
So basically, I'm a little bit disappointed for a bunch of reasons. First one is, as I already stated in a bunch of episodes before, I think the mission pack has grown a little bit stale, and I was really hoping or looking forward to a shakeup in this. Just because, how many times can you play the same amount of missions? How many tournaments can you go on with doing pretty much the same missions? I was hoping for a refresher. Didn't happen too much, so that's the reason for the disappointment. And the second one probably pertains to Abandoned Sanctuaries. It's a mission that I particularly do not enjoy if I want to play, or if I bring Gene Stealers in my Tyranids, or if I want to play GSC. It's just, such a blow to the potential of the army. And I don't think there are many almost every army has something that they can move pre-game or put forward pre-game, and this just limits it for no particular reason. Probably good that it limits, or used to limit, Necron's movement pre-game, just because they could do it with the entire army and have upsec. But the sheer fact that I pay 80, 160, or even 240 points to bring my Gene Stealers to be able to deploy them up forward, and then to be denied that just by the mission, which puts me at a disadvantage from the get-go. I'd rather not play that mission at all, to be honest. So I was hoping that something would be done to this, or maybe this mission would be changed, but no, it's still in the pack. So yeah, that's why I said I'm a little bit disappointed with the actual lack of major changes.
I really like the change that about the CPs, because that was really stupid when you the Warlord one, when you didn't get CP when the Warlord was dead. That was, let's say, maybe not fair, but at least you could play around it. But I really hated that one mission. I think it's Tide of Conviction. I never remember the names. where you didn't get CP if you didn't control an objective in no man's land. And that was really stupid when one army had the pre-game move and another one didn't. Hey, I get CP, you don't. You didn't bring any pre-game move. So I really like the change when you now at least have a chance to get it on 4+.
No, I like the Warlord one actually, because I tend to quite often play some big model as the Warlord, like, you know, Knights or a Greater Demon, and if that dies like turn 1, 2, then you're just hungry for a CP later on. So that was a total bummer. I've mentioned, what was I gonna say about this stuff? Yeah, Tweek. Whilst I do agree that the mission pack has grown stale, I kind of find it hard to think up of any way to actually shake it up, because whilst I do like the rule set that we're playing in 9th, I think there's only so much you can come up with, especially in terms of primary. What I think could be interesting is if we had another mission that has the domination primary, so take 2, take 3, or hold 2, hold 3, as we only got 2 of those in the pack, one of which is Tide of Conviction that we rarely play in Poland on the 2-day tournaments. So it's usually just Vital Intelligence, which I hate, but at least it provides a challenge. So maybe that would have been something interesting to see.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I'm still gonna play the game. It's just that I don't know. You know, I don't have to come up with those because I'm not getting paid for this. But I think a small shakeup would do good. I mean, you know, we're going to get to this. The situation gets slightly better with secondaries, but for primaries, one more mission, 2 more missions. That's really not too much to ask for, I think.
That's where I won't agree, but yeah, we'll get to that. Okay, so I think that's it in the Arks of Omen book in terms of general changes. So let's jump to the changes that the balanced data slate brings, and let's start with the big one. So Armor of Contempt. It's missing.
Yep.
Good riddance.
Vitalis, why don't you elaborate?
First of all, I think the whole Armor of Contempt was just patch to the patch to the patch. So it was for me, the rule was introduced just to patch the killiness that rose in the game, to give the Marines and other power armored factions a chance to live. And it led to some maybe short-lived but really cancerous builds like paladins with Grey Knight paladins with -2 save, something like that.
-1.
-1.
-1.
No, I think you could get them to -2. But anyway, you know what I mean. So I'm basically, it invalidated the whole group of weapons, of -1 weapons. So I really like that it's gone. Even though half of my factions are more squishy right now, I'm really happy because right now I can look at the weapon that is -1 and consider it viable and not just useless. So yeah, the Guard already lost it in the data slate pretty much before, because for at least in Poland we were playing without the data slate for the new Guard. So I think I'm really happy that it's gone.
Tweek, any thoughts for a beginning Death Guard player?
To be perfectly honest, I'm not too bothered by it. As Vitaly said, to me, when they introduced it, it felt like, I don't know if you watch or our listeners watch like anime, but I'm a huge fan of Naruto, and I remember that there were times where the anime caught up with the manga, so they didn't have the material, the source material to make episodes, and they just made filler. And filler was the lowest quality kind of episodes that they have ever released. And I felt AOC was just like that. It was just filler to fill in for the rules team to come up with something better. I was a beneficiary of the AOC rule in my games in Tau when we played the TTS League. Yes, I did feel it made the Plague Marines more survivable, but with it being gone and the points going down for like Plague Marines, I don't think I'm going to miss it very much. So yeah, I'm not bothered by it, and I don't think the majority of AOC players are. So yeah, as Vitalis said, good riddance.
There is actually there's one exception where I will miss this rule, and that is on Terminators, and that is purely because of lore reasons. Because in the lore, the Terminators are big sticky things that are immovable. I know we're not talking about the lore in our podcast, but anyway, that is the only case where I will miss the rule.
But I guess that's why they have an invulnerable save.
Yeah, but you know.
Yeah, I mean, whenever you bring lore into rules, you could go into
Yeah, I
all
know,
the
I
extremes.
know,
If
but
Terminators should keep that, then Custodes should have like armor of super contempt or whatever.
I know, but since we are talking about it,
Yeah, sure. I know. I don't really have an opinion yet. I mean, I've kind of got used to armor of contempt just being there, and I don't think that it showed that much in Poland, other than potentially Thousand Suns and the recently obnoxious build with Flamers.
Well,
Or
Chaos
just
Space Marines probably.
Oh yeah, and the Chaos Terminators were also a unit that would come up. So basically something that just had a 2-up save base, because that's where you're really getting proper resilience. But I'm really interested how it's gonna impact the game on like in the UK TC, because there you had much more terrain that provided cover, so Marines were much better off on those tables, especially with Armor of Contempt. So because then from AP1, your Marine would have a 2+ save in cover, so that was quite significant. So yeah, I'm just interested to see how it goes.
I mean, you know, if I think about it like really quickly, I'm probably going to be very happy with including Helverins in my Death Guard, just because I reckon. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think, you know, AP1, AP2 weapons are now going to be way more meaningful than they used to be.
Definitely.
I remember, I think it was Krakow Arena, back when, I think it was like in March, or I can't remember the exact timestamp, but I remember that I took my my warrior spam Tyranids, and I was playing against a Grey Knights player, so yeah, the Paladin bomb and so on. And I was excited. I put all the buffs on my warriors and I charged into the unit of paladins, and I horribly bounced off of them because the AP2 on the bone swords did absolutely nothing. I think now it's going to mean a lot more. Well, probably, I don't know if I'm gonna play any more Tyranid warriors, but you get the gist. You get what
you promised us you won't.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. I'm using
I
this
think
as
now
an
you
example.
wouldn't even want to.
That's another thing.
Yeah, but we'll get there.
But AP1, AP2, I think it's going to be more significant one. I imagine maybe, heavy bolters, stuff like that will return. Definitely Death Guard is going to have a lot of fun because their plague weapons usually are like AP1 or AP2. I can't wait for my drones with flesh mowers, for example, to just charge into something and mow it to death, because AP2 actually will do something now. So I guess that's positive.
Wait till we get to Dark Angels, and I will tell you what they will do right now with this AP1.
I'm scared already.
Moving on, talking about changes. I think the bodyguard abilities, what's the word I'm missing? Streamlining has not changed. Correct me if I'm wrong, because like none of my armies actually have this, I think. The indirect fire weapons also hasn't changed, except that guard are no longer an exception to this rule.
That's correct.
So yeah,
that is actually pretty weird, because when the guard codex dropped, the pre-release one, A lot of the Guard players were actually building infantry lists, tank lists, and a lot of players were wanting to build an ordnance list with the basilisk, the manticores, all that stuff. But they were waiting for the data slate to confirm they still got the indirect fire buff. And actually, without it, all the ordnance is pretty much dead in Guard Codex. So for me, that is very, very strange that they didn't include it.
I couldn't care less for Guard, so no comment from me.
I couldn't. I only have negative feelings toward any indirect fire, so yeah, fuck them. Okay, and the last universal match play rule is the aircraft one, and whilst the amount of aircrafts that you can take is still the same, they now must start the battle in strategic reserves. And what else? And they can't bomb if they have the ability to, if they leave the battlefield in the same turn. What do you guys think of this change? Tweek, let's start with you this time.
I'm thrilled by this. I think they have finally found a way to do away with planes, basically. With GW, it's always like this, and with planes, they either make bizarre rules that make planes non-interactive and not fun and game-breaking, or they remove them completely. I think we are now at this latter stage of the game where people would simply stop taking planes just because they are meaningless now. I like it because I hate anything in the game that makes the game, as I mentioned, non-interactive, and I think planes like Tau bombers or even harpies that I was using non-interactive. There was very little that you could do if you didn't go first. So I'm happy to see that gone. Especially the harpy, I think, is going to suffer a lot, and you're just not going to see it anymore. But probably we'll be getting to that later. But bombers, I think every single player out there will be happy to hear that the bombers are no longer viable and will probably disappear. Probably Tau will find another cancer to replace them, but still, at least these motherfuckers are gone. And yeah, I'm just thoroughly thrilled by this change, and I really like it. I think it should stay here for a longer while.
Vitalis, anything you want to add?
Well, I actually a bit disagree that the planes are dead. They're definitely not a no-brainer include right now. Definitely all the bombers are dead. Because, like Tweek mentioned, the Sunsharks are pretty much in an abysmal spot right now. The Harpy is also in a lot worse spot. I think all the planes, the Drukhari bombers. Well, let's not even start about those. But I think, like for example, maybe an Ork plane or something that's more designed to shoot than to bomb are actually maybe playable. I don't know. We'll see about that. But I don't think they are completely dead, because with let's not forget that with a new that's one thing I think we forgot to talk about. With Arks of Omen, all the reserves are free right now. So with the
we didn't mention that.
Yeah, we didn't. So with that change, I think a lot of players will actually start putting things into reserve. So, for example, you get a plane that you don't want to lose if you don't start. Hell, go to reserves. You got a knight that's designed to bombard something but is squishy. Hell, go to reserves. You got a Baneblade. Hell, go to reserves.
But wait, at the stage of when you decide who goes first, you already have to have things in reserve, right?
Yes, but now you can just put these things into reserve.
Well, yeah, okay.
Prematurely, and then you don't care. You really don't care who starts, because all your small stuff's gonna be hidden. At least from the Alpha Strike perspective, you don't care. So I don't think that all the planes are dead. The bombers, definitely. The shooty ones, well, we'll see about those.
Yeah, but I mean, 50% of the time you'd want your plane to be in strategic reserves turn one anyway, right? That's why the Tau planes were so good, because you had the redeploy ability to do that.
Yeah, but since now you cannot bump anything after.
Well, yeah, but that wasn't the the point that I was making. Obviously, yeah, not bombing sucks, but I think Tau have a different plane that's more of a fighter jet that just shoots, other than the bomber, which is pretty good as well.
To be honest, I
Or is it
even
not?
I even don't know what it does.
Okay,
I was only using bombers.
fair enough. Yeah, let's hope that stays that way then.
So I just wanted to add something because I really again believe that all will boil down to the creativity of the players. This last weekend, all three of us attended a team tournament here in the north of Poland, and I had the great opportunity to speak with one of our most competitive Grey Knights player, so Champs. And I asked him how he viewed those changes, and he said, "No, I'm again not bothered at all. I'm considering actually bringing a plane now because the Storm Raven now looks more interesting, and I could just take it, put Terminators inside, keep it in reserves, then appear somewhere close to the middle of the table, deploy the Terminators, and then fuck that plane." So I mean, that's just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to like tactics and ideas that you could come up with. The sheer fact that a player that hasn't used planes since the beginning of 8th is now considering bringing them probably means that this change is good, but we will see.
I'm not sure about that one, but I did want to say that I wanted to agree with you on the fact that G-dubs just seem to cannot into planes, which I think is a shame because the planes are usually really cool models and well, they're just something different. And the move blocking shenanigans I think were really cool that you could pull off. But yeah, they're either obnoxiously broken or utterly useless in most cases. So with that, I think we've covered the general changes. Let us know if I've missed something, or maybe you guys have anything else to add, or shall we move on?
I think we're good. I think we can move on.
Let's proceed.
Okay. Actually, I think we've got general secondaries still to cover.
That's a possibility.
True.
So secondaries in general have not changed much, to my biggest disappointment, because I wasn't really counting on the primary change, but I was really hoping for a secondary shakeup. So your basic ones that you have in the game by default have not changed. However, some of them now give you CP if you meet a certain condition, which is usually killing something with troops, war dogs, or armigers. So that's the basic ones that you usually start with. Assassination, grind them down, and what's the third default one?
No prisoners?
No, behind enemy lines is the third one.
We're talking about the killy ones, or
no, just general default. In Nephilim, they've added that if you don't pick any, then you have these three, and it's assassination, behind enemy lines, and grind them down. So yeah, now you can get a CP if a troops or an armiger war dog unit does whatever needs to be done in any of these. And behind enemy lines also gets an additional change that now rewards you 3 victory points if you get 1 unit. And this, I think, is the first of Harlequin buffs that actually have appeared in this book. So yeah, we'll get to that later, possibly. Engage on all fronts now has changed a little bit. That if you're in all 4 of the quarters, you only need to be 3 inches away from the others. If what I'm saying makes sense. The psychic ones, all the psychic actions have difficulty increased by 1, and interrogation has gone back to the version that it was in Nachmund or the Octarius. So you again now have to draw line of sight. Yes.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest change, at least to me, because that was a very spammable sort of secondary, and one of the go-tos for, again, Tyranids, for example, where the Tyranid secondaries are abysmal. So you would have to go to the general ones, and this psychic interrogation I think was the one that I always went for. So, but it was due to the fact that it's very easy to pull off because you didn't have to see. Now you're going to
Yeah,
have
in
the position.
certain matchups it was, but then
In
a
our
lot of
matchup,
armies
yes.
now lose an effective secondary, which kind of sucks when they don't have anything to
different
make
one.
up for it. Yeah.
Yep.
Vitalis, any thoughts on
Just
these
a
changes?
question from my side, because I'm not sure if that was also changed or not. Ritual also gave, I think that is also changed, but correct me. If your ritual tally right now is 1 or 2, you also get points. Was that like that before?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay, okay.
It was an all or nothing only in the first iteration, I think, way back when.
I didn't use it for a long time, so hence my question.
No, but it also got bumped up by a point, warp charge point.
Yeah, like all the. So back to your question. I think especially the psychic secondaries, bumping them at least 1 point was really good change because they were pretty much too easy. That was the only thing that you could fail with those, the rolling dice, and when you had to roll like 4 on 2 dice, it's not a challenge. And I also like the change on engage, that it's that you can be more packed right now if you are aiming for all the quarters.
All right. I think now we can move on to factions, specific ones. So, Tweek, why don't you start us off with a faction you'd like to talk about?
I can take Death Guard just because this is the focus for the year for me. I think the secondaries are better. Vectors, if you look at them, theoretically, you can now score 12 points in the battle round. You'll have to, put some sweat into it to actually do it, but it is possible. And I think they are more stable choices than they used to be. So the spoiled ground is now easier because you get reserves for free, which I think, if you have an army that moves 5 inches in general, any option that allows you to appear anywhere on the table, I mean, not exactly anywhere, but on the side of the table, but somewhere further than your deployment zone, is amazing for this army. So I'm already looking forward to taking the spoiled ground and actually applying this change and putting things in reserve just to score this. Yeah, I think that for Death Guard, those changes are very, very positive. I don't know, Vitalis, do you want to jump to your faction?
I would like to add something about the Death Guard, because there is one, maybe not a big nerf, but there is nerf that is simultaneous with the release of new rules, that is losing the Terminus Est, Army of Renown. That's what I remembered when you were talking that you are slow in Death Guard, and that is losing all the stratagems that were for boosting your zombie horde. And I know it's not a very competitive army for the bigger points, but for if someone is playing smaller points like 1k or something around that, that was really solid choice in those point ranges.
Yeah, so that is true. But
that is
still,
also gone.
But as I said, I think overall the changes to the secondaries are very welcome, and I think that in general, Death Guard players are going to benefit from them. I don't think we have much to complain about when it comes to those changes.
Yeah. So since you're focusing on Death Guard, have you got a build in mind now? I mean, the Arks of Omen really opens up like dropping troops and just going Terminator heavy, for example. But I don't know.
So there has been an interesting discussion in the Polish Discord, because I posted my suggested list earlier today for the guys to review, and we had a nice conversation about it with our prime Death Guard player Asarnil also contributing, and actually the comment that the spoiled ground is better now because you can put things in reserve and appear on the like further on the table comes from him. I think it's a very viable point. But when it comes to list building, well, first thing first, I want to include 3 armatures for a couple of reasons. Just because, first of all, they shoot well. Second of all, I'm playing with the idea of taking. I really can't remember what the name of the fell bond or whatever it's called right now, but there is something that makes first of all, increases the range of the shooting weapons of the Helverins. Second of all, it increases the strength and damage. And third thing that it does is that it allows you to ignore Lookout Sir, which means that my 3 Helverins are now going to have 40-inch heavy stabbers with damage 2. And even though there is no AP, they can try and hunt down characters, which means even the sheer fact that I communicate this to my enemy is probably going to have a similar psychological effect that's saying that my highest tyrant can go 25 inches in charge, which means that probably it will force my opponent to move in an unfavorable way, or maybe overprotect the characters, even if those weapons are not going to kill them, although I hope they do. But if it just pushes my opponent to move the character somewhere else than he intended to, that's a win. And then I have I was thinking of the composition for the Death Guard that I would bring, and I'm going to bring a Demon Prince, just because I love him, with wings, with Arch Contaminator, so the reroll to wounds on plague weapons, and the Plague Skull of Glothilla relic, just for some mortal wound shenanigans. And with wings, he's just going to move 10 inches, and he's very mobile. He can keep up with the rest of the army, and so on and so on. I'm going to bring blood drones just because I love them. With flesh mowers, 2 rhinos to move the plague marines around. I'm going to bring 40 plague marines, which is a crazy number, but again, with so many options that you have now to place them in different places on the table, why not? A unit of boxwalkers and just 2 elites, Biologus Putrefier and Foul Blightspawn to support them. And I think this list is going to be a ton of fun. So yeah, don't steal my idea. And if you do, remember it's mine.
Okay.
Credit where it's due.
Exactly.
All right. Vitalis, any faction you want to pick?
Do we want to cover Space Marines right now, or do we leave them for the end? Because I can start with the Space Marines, and you can guys add your factions or chapters or whatever.
Let's do that then.
Let's do that. Okay. So for the Space Marines, the boogeyman that everyone is afraid right now, what will happen? First, the biggest change, like we mentioned, armor contempt is gone. So all the Marines are a bit more squishy right now. But that is really compensated by the fact that and I mean really all the war gear is for free. So we did some counting around, and for example, my list for the Dark Angels is around 550 points cheaper right now. One of our players here in North, Wojtek Salamanders, are cheaper around 480 points. So that's a lot. That's really, really a lot. So we will see where that will lead, but actually it's looking like the Space Marine will be fielding a lot more units. So and of course the point drops for the models itself. For the secondaries, one big change is what's it called? Codex Warfare. So the Codex Warfare is the one where you had to kill the units in your doctrines. It's not anymore limited to the number of points you can get in one doctrine, so you can just spam all your points in the Devastator doctrine or anything like that. So that's the big buff. And of course, that's another change that is connected to that. You are back to the old school doctrine system. where you do not have to switch if you don't know if you don't want to. So you can just stay in the Devastator for the whole game, and that's gonna be a bit crazy, I think. There are at least 2 factions that really, Space Marine factions chapters that really love this change, meaning Dark Angels and Iron Hands. About the secondaries, for the chapter specific ones, most of those are gone. So chapters used to have like 3, 4 secondaries. Right now, I'm looking through the Arks of Omen, and yeah, all the chapters got just 1. I don't know about the rest, but for example, my Dark Angels are a bit nerfed with that. That's what the one that is left. So yeah,
so they still got Stubborn Defiance, which is
but now you have to
15 points.
Yeah, but now you have to do it with an OPSEC unit. And I will get to that.
Because none of your 50 Deathwing Terminators have OPSEC.
That's if I take that list, they do. But I will get to that. So right now, maybe let's, I don't know what's our accumulated knowledge about all the chapters, but I will start with mine. So for what that means for the Dark Angels. First of all, like I said, the lists are really, really cheaper right now. The dreaded Terminators are dropping from 235 to 165, I think. So that's a pretty significant drop in points. All the bikes are dropped, especially the attack bikes are dropped from 60 points for the multi-malta to 30. So in the bike squad, because for some reason GW left them for 50 points in attack bike squads. So yeah, the Dark Angels are really happy, but the mentioned fix, the FAQ to their detachment system is not as nice as it could be. Because for you guys that don't know how it worked in old detachment system, if we had Vanguard detachment with just Deathwing, all the Terminators got OPSEC, and if we have Outrider detachment with just Raven Wings, all the bikes get OPSEC. Right now, since you cannot mix detachments, you just have to either go very, very spammy with the bikes or very, very spammy with Terminators to get that, or you can just make a mixed list with inclusion of Green Wing for some troops that are gonna get OPSEC. And coming to that, like I mentioned, the what Dark Angel is gonna do with their heavy bolters. So the Dark Angel specific, there is one lieutenant that is specific to the chapter, that is Talon Master. So since we can stand in the Devastator Doctrine right now, we're gonna have a Land Speeder that is protected by the 4+ invulnerable and shooting twin heavy bolter with the boosted AP after advancing, hitting on 2+. One of those guys can hit on 2+, and you can include 6 of those in your list. So that's gonna be a bit crazy. And of course, going back to the Green Wing, also the troops. If you decide to take the troop tax, if you mix the wings, are not as terrible as they used to be, because with staying in the Devastator Doctrine, you can boost those bolt guns a bit for those intercessors or infiltrators or whatever. I mean, if you want to stay in the Devastator and take the heavy bolt guns. Also, the Dark Angels are hitting on 2+ if they're not moving, so that is not a terrible troop tax as it used to be. So yeah, either now we're going full Terminators, full bikes, or just mixed and hope for the best with the new doctrine system, new old doctrine system. So I think that's going to be really, really nice. maybe strong. Like like Joker mentioned, 50 Terminators are looking as a contender for the spot, but we'll see. We'll see. So that's it from my side and from my green power armor.
Right, I can weigh in with Blood Angels, and as you've mentioned, they've lost, I think, 2 of their specific secondary objectives. So the one with the Death Companies killing and getting killed, I don't remember the other one, but Relentless Assault is the one that stayed. And I think they've got the least of points reductions across the chapters, but maybe I'm a bit wrong there. And you've already mentioned Iron Hands, and I'm already getting flashbacks from Vietnam of 8th edition when they were super obnoxious. So if you think Iron Hands and then 50 Deathwing Terminators, yes, 2 very fun and interactive lists to play against. Glorious days. Tweek, what do you think about Marines? Maybe some love for Space Wolves has reignited?
So, yes and no. Well, first of all, I'm now more in love with diseases and plagues than I am with wolf pelts and Mjod and so on. But yeah, the wolves are looking. The wolves are looking interesting, to say the least. I mean, you know, perhaps we will finally see cavalry on the tables, because I think, again, I'm not sure if they saw point drops, but definitely the weapons are now cheaper, so you can take storm shields and lightning claws, for example, on them, and they are still a very fast unit. Depending on the tables, you can have a lot of fun with them or not, because if you play WTC as we do, yeah, you will have a tough time because of loads of terrain and having to charge around them and move around them in general. But I still would like to bring wolves to the table at some point, just to have some fun with the cavalry. I think you can add a Terminator with like a cyclone missile launcher for fairly low points now to every squad, which is also very interesting. And yeah, and the secondary to charge 2 units or be in engagement range with 2 units is still there. So one of the secondaries that I used to take most of the time is still there, which is good. Wolves are looking good. They're looking interesting. Definitely good times to be a Wolves player. But I still don't think they stand a chance against Iron Hands, because, you know, while you were talking, I was just having a brief look at the Polish Discord, and Pumba just wrote that he's been playing a game today of his Iron Hands versus Admech, and he pretty much tabled Admech in turn 2 with 500 points of units, not making it onto the table from reserves, which means he won a game with 1,500 points fairly easily. So let that be a warning to everyone who's going to be facing Iron Hands on the tables. These motherfuckers are going to hit hard now.
Yeah, exactly what I've mentioned. Great stuff.
In it.
In it, mate. Yeah, look forward to it. Not
unstoppable force versus immovable object in the Marines.
Exactly.
Yeah. So anyway, right, okay, where do we go from there? Oh, actually, I had another remark on Space Marines. I think that Wolves and Archangels specifically will be a bit less bothered by Armor of Contempt being gone, as they had units that would often take storm shields,
Yeah, very much.
which were unaffected by AOC anyway.
One time in my life I was happy I'm lazy, because I was too lazy to change my Terminators from the storm shields to the bolters, and right now I'm still good in the game.
Nice one.
I think 2 things that are worth mentioning again is that we're going to see the resurgence of damage 2 weapons, just because Space Marines. And the second thing is that, Vitalis, I'm not sure if you mentioned this, but basically Space Marines now have sticky objectives.
Yeah, true.
Oh, yeah,
which is a nice addition to the game as well.
Yeah,
you need to take troops, right?
Yeah,
that's what I wanted to say. The overall trend in the data slate and in the Arks of Omen are the from one side you can skip troops more easy right now, and from the other side you get a lot more bonuses for including them, like those sticky objectives, like some secondaries.
Sticky regeneration.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's one good step from GW.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much comparable to AOC when it was first introduced. You can clearly see that they're doing their best to bring Space Marines back to the tables, and I think that this time they might have actually succeeded.
From my side, yeah, definitely. Even before we started recording, I was putting together a list to test, and actually I included 10 of the intercessors in that I have never included before.
Mhm.
Okay, where do we go next?
Joker, you pick one.
Oh, I need to pick one. Okay, so demons are like first in the data state if you just read along with it. So the major significant change, and the only one that's in that publication, is that flamers are no longer flamers. So they don't automatically hit. I have to admit, I would have never thought that that's how they'll be treated. I was expecting like points hike up to even 40 points per model, or something equally ridiculous, or just change the amount of all it hits to like D3 plus 3. This actually seems fair. And the points cost didn't change, just to get ahead of things. It's still, well, it's not an auto-include, but it's still a unit that you take into consideration when building a list. I'm a bit disappointed because the problems that demons have not really been fixed. So in a way, it's still a bit of flat book with little passive abilities. But we did get a number of points reductions on a couple of units that I'm really excited even about. So Fiends got down, Fleshhounds got down 4 points per model.
yeah.
So that's a really cool unit to consider now. Screamers went down, Beast of Nurgle went down, Plague Drones went down. So units that I thought were on the verge of being playable, I think they're now even closer
They're
to that.
considerable.
Yeah. However, with the Arks of Omen and no FAQ as of yet, you effectively are not getting. There's no way for you to get the god-specific Warp Storm abilities unless you just go fully mono god, which I'm not sure is too good. Although Zinch might actually still be the best choice here. What else have we got in terms of changes? Secondaries are untouched. And yeah, so basically demons will, I think, potentially struggle with high toughness enemies, especially because both the Lord of Change and the Bloodthirster, that were like the most common picks outside of Be'lakor from the big guys, got a bit of a points hike. 10 points for the Bloodthirster that has the wound cap ability, and 15 points in general for the Lord of Change, I think, considering the increase to base cost and the Master Mutator. So I'm really interested how demons will fit into the meta right now, or if they will fit at all, because their profiles are okay-ish into Marines, actually, with AP2, AP3 in places, and sometimes damage 2. Strength 5-6 should be enough, but like I said, high toughness is going to be a big problem without any option to reroll wounds, or without many options to reroll hits. So you actually only have one, pretty much. So yeah, they're not nerfed into the ground, but they'll have to find their own place now, I think. Questions, opinions?
The only thing that I'm really happy is that they did something about the flamers, and that with the detachment rules and so on, they are not going to be as prevalent as they used to be. And the change to the amount of shots, or sorry, the way how they shoot. I think it's very welcome, just because their Overwatch was obnoxious, and now when they have to hit like everyone else, I think that's fair. I think that's just something that I, as someone who, sorry, needed to prepare specifically to tackle demons, to tackle flamers, because as Tyranids, I needed to take. I mean, I usually had it anyway, but take paroxysm that would turn off Overwatch, or I was even tinkering with the idea of something like Hydra swarm units with this adaptation that forces or turns off Overwatch. I think that them not having such a powerful Overwatch is really good. That's basically it from me.
Okay. Well, yeah, obviously Overwatch is gone. Haven't mentioned that, so definitely a welcome change to anyone not playing Demons. Yeah, but like I said, we'll see where Demons will now place in the meta. I mean, they're still okay-ish in terms of secondaries, a couple of points reductions. That's good, but I really think Flamers did carry that codex, so we'll see where it finds its place now. All right, so we've gone around one time. Tweek, another choice of faction for you. Tyranids now, or?
Yeah, I think Tyranids at least deserve a mention.
Because they're not
changes-
gonna get
No, they
one
don't.
for a
Fuck.
long time.
No, I'm not gonna. I think Tyranids, along with Harlequins, have been the big bad boogeyman of the meta for the last year, and I think that finally the time has come for them to rethink their choices and so on. The nerfs that came, I'll dare and say it, the faction has been over nerfed, in that they went a little bit too far with the points increases, especially on the units that have not really seen a lot of views on the table, because I think for the first time ever, GW was not only trying to nerf something, but they were also trying to predict the future nerfs. Because if someone can explain to me why Hiveguard got a point increase, I'll buy you a beer if you explain that to me. But I think they were trying to essentially predict where the Tyranid players are going to look next, and they nerfed that as well. From the most important changes, mines on anything that spreads mines now cost reinforcement points, which essentially means that no one is going to use them ever again by Biovores.
Finally, fuck's sakes.
Yeah, that was. Wow.
Yeah, so, I mean, again, I only started using mines in the last month or something. I mean, mines, Biovores, spitting out mines. So I'm not too bothered by this, apart from the fact that I just bought 3 Biovores, and now I will not see them on the table again. But they are cool models, so oh well. But essentially, you won't see mines on the table anymore. Same goes for Harpies, because of the flyer rules and because of the points increases, because the weapons went up. So I don't think the Harpy is worth it anymore to take. So yeah, that is going away. I think the major change that needs to be mentioned, that probably is welcome by the entire community that doesn't play Tyranids, is that Overrun is now limited to core units, which means that you no longer can push forward with the Hive Tyrant, kill something, and escape, which is a massive change. And again, from the Tyranid players that I've spoken to, this could even mean that the Hive Tyrant is dropped from the list altogether. There still might be potential for walking tyrants or a swarm lord, because all the other rules that you need to have them on the table to have imperatives, well, they are still in there. Most Tyranid players told me that they would still be bringing a walking Hive Tyrant with a Shard Gullet. But to be perfectly honest, again, I will buy you a beer if you show me a game where this gun actually does something with its 3 shots. But again, I might be mistaken.
I like my beer light. I will point you to the game.
Okay, all right. And was there anything else that I should mention? I think overall, I'm just happy that I picked Death Guard this time because, again, from the discussions that the Polish Discord community has had today, 2 players even made a bet, trying to establish whether Tyranids are going to be below 45% of win rate. And I think if one of them loses, he will have to paint a troops unit for another guy, which again I'm very interested to see how it turns out. But the overall prediction is that they are going to be 45% or lower when it comes to win rate, because the changes are absolutely massive to them. So yeah, I think that's it about Tyranids.
Yeah, I think what you said, they were the boogeyman, but it's a little too much, a little too late.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you take into consideration, that it all started with pretty powerful Leviathan, and then moved to Stampede, and many players jumped on this because hardly ever did you get an opportunity to play so many monsters in a powerful combination. And then after that came probably the best codex this army has ever seen, with hardly any data sheets that didn't play. So it's like a year and a half of being on top. I think it's time.
Yeah, I think that's fair. But definitely rough on people that are like diehard fans of the faction, or they don't have any other armies or whatnot.
As in the case of every nerf pad that hits too hard.
Yes, of course. Vitalis.
Yeah, so let's maybe pick another boogeyman from the closet, and let's talk about our blue-skinned communists. So meaning the Tau. So from the biggest changes that we have on a Tau lineup, it's gonna be of course the mentioned planes. The Sun Sharks are pretty much dead because the biggest strength of the Sun Sharks were the bombs, and now since you will get like not 3 to 4 bombing runs, but 2 to maybe 3 bombing runs, if of course the plane is not killed, and not getting any firepower from round 1, they're not going to be played. The second biggest change that we have right now is caused by the changes in the detachments. So the triple commander combo is gone. And that is in most of the lists that are played right now, focusing around the 5,000 point crisis squad. It's going to be a big nerf, because actually the crisis squad was so scary because it was buffed by all 3 of the commanders, the Cold Star, the crisis one, and oh Jesus, what's she's called?
Shadow Sun.
Shadow Sun, yeah, of course. The Shadow Sun granting full reroll of hits, the Cold Star granting 18-inch move, and the Crisis one granting conditional reroll to wounds, sorry, and ignoring all the modifiers in shooting. So the Tau players will have to drop one of those buffs. So whichever they will drop, the crisis will drop in power, either in shooting power or mobility or something like that. Not to mention dropping the firepower from the commanders. The Cold Star firepower is crazy, with double pulse guns and something else. Basically, they will lose something. So that's the biggest changes in Tau lineup. Yeah, but like we already I think mentioned somewhere, the triple Riptide is already on the horizon, buffed by triple Hammerhead. So I think the Tau will manage. They have options in the codex to fulfill those roles, but definitely there are lists in current iteration where we had like 3 hammerheads, 2 sun shards, the big blob of crisis suits, and some fillers. Pretty much is gone. They will have to definitely switch the lists a lot.
To my great sadness, they did nothing about the drones mechanic, which I absolutely fucking hate. I think it's the most annoying mechanic out there in the game. But if you think about it, the loss of Armor of Contempt is a buff to Tau. And I think
I'm not sure I would
To
agree with that.
to be honest, Tau didn't care about that.
I
Yeah,
think
because
they
they
They-
ignore cover. They got AP 3 and 4 on like a lot of the weapons, so I don't think that Tau care all that much. But
Actually, a lot of weapons were AP -1, or the burst cannons, or AP -2 for
yeah,
some.
but burst cannons weren't that common. I think. I mean, you mainly had the missile pods were AP2, okay.
Yeah, you
right?
had, but
And
you had the burst cannons on the Cold Star, on all the hammerheads. There were quite a few in the
But
list.
plasmas are like what AP4.
Yeah,
So
so
whatever.
Tau had so many quality shots that they didn't care. You just started to fail those saves anyway.
Okay, fair enough. And I think that the sheer fact that they don't have to take so many troops now is also a buff.
Yeah,
Because points can go into something else.
yeah, that's at least 60 points they can allocate to more drones. Yay!
But on the other hand, fewer
Tau
commanders,
usually
which
would
is always
take
good.
Crute, which actually had a function and on the battlefield, right? You'd push out and acquire objectives earlier. It's green, so I don't think they care about the troop tax that much.
You know what? They had made use of those recruits because they had to include them. But I think the Tau are perfectly good without those.
Okay. I'm just looking at the data slate now. Is there anything new here? I mean, obviously, core removed from broadside that happened ages ago. The change to Montka, that's just reroll wound of one. I think that's also old.
Yeah,
what about the change to the far side and the last one that the charge reductions are not cumulative with other effects?
It's also an old one. That's
okay.
the charge one is at least from 2 data slates ago. I think the far side enclaves also.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, GW. By the way, kudos for marking the changes in points in red. Why not do the same for the freaking changes in the data slate? Who's with me?
Yeah, that's just an humble suggestion from our humble selves and the half of the freaking community.
At least half. All right. Where do we go next? In that case, oh, it's my turn. Let's check again. Oh, Drukhari also on the top of page 2. So why not jump to that? I think there's a restriction to agile hunters has been removed. That's that in terms of the data slate. So it's not much. In terms of points, also not much has actually happened. Racks have gone up in points, which I think was expected in a way because the most popular but also like last breath of the book was the rack spam, which will now be definitely much more difficult to field, especially with an increase also on the homunculus. So you're losing 1 or 2 squads essentially, and that's just now being below the critical mass for the amount of wounds. So that's probably not going to be too viable. Witches have gone down a point, and Armor of Contempt gone. So them with the AP1, maybe they'll return. Unfortunately, as I mentioned before, we don't have any sort of FAQ to tell us how to build, what are the possibilities in detachment building for Drukhari, which is well, a big miss. And Cult of Strife has also dropped with January 2023. I mean, dropped as in it's not legal anymore. And that really had all of the, or maybe not all, but the really interesting stratagems that would help like witches, as I've mentioned before, and Helions, also a unit that has AP1 and used to be a menace. And I think that's it. I'm mostly disappointed that the secondaries have not changed, because Drukhari had really good secondaries when the Codex came out, and then in Nephilim they were just, well, the nerf bat hit quite hard and they're pretty much bad, to say the least. So I think that's my biggest disappointment there. But overall, not many changes, so it's probably not going to be a faction that's too popular, and not a faction that's going to be netting too many wins.
Probably. Yeah, I really don't have anything about Drukhari. Sorry.
Yeah, me neither. I'm just playing them for fun, so zero experience about competitive.
I would have expected a comment from Tweek saying that it's well deserved and they should rot in hell, but okay. I guess the wounds have healed over time.
I mean, the sheer fact that I don't see the bitch succubus who like does a ton of mortals is always good, but it's not the case of this particular data slate or this particular points change. They've been gone for a while. What do you call them? Meat Mountain or Flesh Fortress? Or no, I mean like the whole grotesques and Talosai and Chronosai and so on. This build has been gone for a longer while now as well. Of course I don't miss it, but I'm a huge proponent of every single player getting to enjoy their faction as a winning one for a while, and I think Drukhari is slowly coming to the point where they could use winning again, just to, you know, for the players not to sell their armies and so on.
You remember what happened last time when we said Drukhari could use a little winning?
Yes, I remember. But again, that book is almost like Tyranids in that it's very well written, very well internally balanced. And I just would like the players to be able to put that army on the table and reliably win, which isn't the case now, I think. So if any changes can be made to bring them back to their, at least half of their old glory, then yeah, I'm all for it. Especially that I used to play this army in 8th. But I think we can move on. I think we can move on to maybe Harlequins, because that's interesting. That's like,
I think we should cover them, right? I mean, none of us really play them, but they're obviously another elephant in the room alongside Tyranids. And I wouldn't say they got nerfed equally as Tyranids did. What do you think? Since you brought up the topic.
Okay, so it's interesting. It's interesting what they did, because essentially every single invulnerable save the army has is worse now, which on paper sounds like it should kill the faction, like it should eliminate them from the tables. But to be perfectly honest, the only thing that it means, alongside with like Armor of Contempt going away, at least to me, but I might be wrong, it means that the army is going to be just a bigger glass cannon. It's going to hit as hard, if not harder, and it's just going to die a little bit faster, maybe. But it doesn't really change a lot for players like, I don't know, Mike Porter, that comes to mind immediately, or anyone else who is very skilled and plays this army. They're just going to position better. It probably will not. What's the expression? It's not going to be so welcoming to new players that would like to pick this army as their first army, because every single mistake is going to cost you a lot. But for players who have been doing great with it already, I think they are going to continue doing great. And probably, if I think about it, I was recently looking up rules, because someone asked a question on the our Tree City forum about how Harlequins work with Inari. So I was reading the rules and I found Inari actually quite interesting. I think Harlequins in Inari are going to be even better than they used to be, because again, what I said, they are going to be as killy, if not more. And the fact that they die faster is actually good, because as soon as they die, you put Incarn in their place and you get to demolish even more. So I really don't think that they are going to suffer a lot. As I said, the skill curve for this army is probably going to be higher, because you need to be very careful how you play them in order not to lose too much too quickly. But other than that, I really don't think they got hit that hard. Definitely not as hard as Tyranids. But again, correct me if I'm mistaken. Change my mind.
It's also worth noting, even reinforcing your opinion, that the errata or nerf, we can even call it, for the Shadowseer pivotal role and for the Death Jester pivotal role are also gone. They cost like hell, like 40 and 60 points like now, but they are back there. So if you know how to utilize those, at least, especially the Shadowseer Architect of Mirrors, yeah, it's called something like that.
Mirror Architect, but
oh,
yeah,
Mirror Architect, yeah. So
tomato, tomato.
Yeah, exactly. Then
Potato, potato. Shout out to Mike, that was already there.
I knew that was going to happen.
I lost my focus.
Sorry. I'm
No worries.
so sorry for that.
No worries. So yeah, I also just wanted to say that I agree with Tomek, and even that the data slate itself is hovering towards that opinion. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy you've mentioned those pivotal roles, especially the Mirror Architect. So this is like the second buff, slight buff, because obviously whilst it costs 1 million points, it's actually a really good ability. And now it's back to its first iteration. So we're going to fuel that. What I think is worth noting is that besides those pivotal roles, Harlequins got absolutely no points changes, which I think is a bit surprising, given the state of the game and how they've been dominating and for how long. And there's also another buff for them, hidden in this data slate, is that Fire and Fade, the restriction on Fire and Fade for the Udari Codex is gone.
Mhm.
So we might see Void Weavers again.
Yeah,
we might see a lot of Eldar schemers back, because that was an awesome stratagem. Even playing the Craftworld, if you were really heavy with Falcons, with Wave Serpents, that stratagem was pure gold.
Yeah, definitely. And now when you're able to take well, you're not spending as much CP constructing an army. It's even more viable. And actually, having said that, another thing comes to mind. Harlequins would play with fewer CPs most often, because they'd had to take 2 detachments. Now not only does the Arks of Omen Detachment provide enough slots to take like 8 boats and 8 troop units, well, you're not paying any CPs for it. So again, another hidden buff there.
Yeah, it's basically reinforcing what we said already. So the army has shifted towards the more skill capped, but not that. Definitely not that.
Definitely not that. Especially that. Well, boats have gotten squishier, but essentially the invulnerable save change, does it make that much of a difference to troops? It's 5 guys with 1 wound, toughness 3, saving on the force. They'd usually die when they're sent somewhere.
Troops definitely not. But for the boats, that I think that's a pretty big, but also a fair hit, because the boats were a bit too tanky with this 4+.
They were, but you still need to hit them.
Yeah, well, you cannot have everything, right?
I guess. Votann, anything else you guys want to add on Harlequins?
Maybe if we are on the pointy ears topic, let's go for the Craftworld, because none of us is really a specialist on that.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
Joker should know something about them.
Nah, I've dropped them like ages ago.
So yesterday.
No, ages ago.
Okay. Anyway, I may start with the pointiers. So basically, I think the secondaries are pretty much unchanged. Maybe a point here or there, but I'm not even sure they're what they used to be. Actually, there are quite few point races in those documents.
Swooping hoax, rest
it-
pepperoni.
Yeah, swooping hoax, the D-Scythes for the right guard, all interesting. All the psychers has gone up.
Yep.
All the warlocks or the
Farseers,
yeah,
Skyrunners.
I think that was expected.
yeah, that's what that was. But I'm surprised that
Not sure if it's deserved, but expected.
that underplayed units are not dropped a bit. I'm meaning some of the tanks, maybe a bit, and definitely the planes, because the Eldar planes, especially now, since they need to start in reserves, are pretty much deader than dead. So what you guys think about those?
So, yeah, Joker, go on.
No, go on, go on.
I mean, I wanted to say but I guess this is like a general comment to the Munitorium changes and not to Eldari themselves. That for the first time in a longer while, it feels like GW has been changing points not to increase the sales of a particular unit, but because they actually want to balance the game. And I think that's great. I think that's welcome. I hope everyone agrees with this. Yeah, that's the only thing I have. When it comes to like point increases for Eldari, I think the most important, most impactful change is swooping hogs going up, which you've seen spams of them. I've listened to the Polish national team podcast about the last tournament of like pre-Munitorium, pre-data slate era, and there were players who brought like 30 swooping hogs. I think now players who do that are going to reconsider, but they were extremely powerful, and it's probably a good change, a good raise. I don't know if enough, time will tell. But yeah, other than that, I think Eldar are in general going to enjoy the new way of building armies. I think they're going to the new detachment is something favorable for them, and they are going to enjoy that quite a lot. And again, I keep repeating this, but AOC going away, I think it's good for the Eldar as well. So the fact that others are becoming weaker makes Eldar stronger.
Definitely, especially the point about list building, because like Joker mentioned at the start, Eldari troops are crap. They're utter crap. Maybe the Rangers, but they're still crap. And they had to take it or pay some CPs for the vanguards, for the outriders, all that stuff. So yeah, that's gonna be interesting. I will definitely take my pointy ears for a spin in the new meta.
Okay, good. I think that this is getting to be quite a long one, so maybe we should just pick like a last faction and go through that. What you guys think? Because we're almost hitting like 2 hours of recording.
Well, yeah, it's a big topic, so it's understandable, and I hope our listeners understand that as well.
So maybe let's pick the top ones and.
Did we mention Necrons actually?
No, we haven't.
I was about to put another skeleton out of the closet. Okie dokie, shall I start with those?
Yes, go for it then.
Yeah, so first of all, I think everyone is a bit disappointed.
Pissed.
Yeah, disappointed is a very subtle word. So no changes, at least no significant changes for the secondaries. you still do what you did before. There is pretty small change to the ancient machineries. I think that's the one. I never remember the names. The one with when you have to perform an action, and that changes 1 point less for the 1 point less for the other one. The actions you need to now do with either infantry, bikers, or canoptech units. So basically, that's big bullshit of a change because you were doing that with those units anyway. But GW thought they were smart. And the other change is for the second one. Hell, I don't remember the name. Like always, the one when you had to control the designated objectives. It's 1 point less right now. So that's changing nothing for the Necrons. There are some point drops. Surprisingly, the warriors are -1 point. And from my perspective, what is most important, the monoliths. The monoliths, the Tesseract, are -40 points. Monolith 30, and I think the Tesseract is -40 points. So yeah, my pyramids are really happy. And another thing, including a big pyramid is not so stupid anymore. Aside from playing on WTC tables where you have to plan your movements before the tournament, not before the game even, because the pyramids are now part of the main detachment, meaning they got the OPSEC. So the Necron players may even consider taking one for some reasons. I don't know. Time will tell. But for 270 points with an OPSEC, that's definitely not bad. Not as bad as it used to be. The one nerf that the Necrons received is that the OPSEC dynasty is gone. Now you can only take the OPSEC itself. You cannot take the pre-game move with that. So it may look like a cosmetic change, but I think it may have a bit bigger repercussions than we think. Because with the whole army redeploying after the start of the game, the Necrons players were pretty much safe to either move forward and grab those objectives even easier, or just hide their units from the Alpha Strike. Right now, they will have to deploy a bit safer, meaning don't laugh, a bit safer, meaning they at least have to consider getting their units wiped before they get to those objectives. So that is one saving grace for the Necron balance, I think. Your opinion, guys?
I'm really disappointed in the changes, or you can't really say lack of changes. I mean, lack of changes in terms of secretaries, but then seriously, points reductions on units that are like most popular picks, or ones that are actually really good into the way that the Necrons currently play, which won't change. And okay, the dynasty change was like long awaited for, but you just need to deploy smarter and maybe not be able to play as aggressively from turn one. But I think Necrons are one of the biggest winners of these changes in general.
Yeah, I think Tomb Blades going down is insane. I think I mentioned this either in the last episode or the one before that. Even Necron players are embarrassed by playing their own army, and I think they were looking forward to nerfs of their own secondaries, because everyone, even the Necron players, realized that these need changing. Again, non-interactive. You get points for doing fuck all. So that hasn't changed. I'm unhappy about it, to be honest. And yes, I think they are winners, or maybe just an oversight, but still, I was hoping for more in this domain.
Yeah, and indeed, we just had a GT this weekend in Poland, and even Necron players didn't take Necrons to it, which is weird, because the tournament was actually played in the win draw lose system rather than the usual WTC differential scoring that we do, where Necrons could have been potentially better, and yet no one opted to take them. So if that's not speaking volumes, I don't know what is.
Right, guys, since we want to bring this to a close slowly, I'll have one winner of the data slate, one loser of the data slate from both of you and myself.
Go ahead.
Joker, I'll start with you.
I don't know if I can point one, but okay, you're making me pick one.
Well, maybe let's
I'll
not say
start
winner.
with the loser. I'll start with the loser
okay.
because that's easier for me, and that's definitely Tyranids, hands down.
Agreed. Yeah,
They
I don't
got
think anyone
nerfed
hit as
across
hard.
the board. Yeah, and they got little to nothing to compensate for it. Unlike most of the other factions that got nerfed or apparent nerfs.
And
Major...
you would imagine that with Tyranids, them getting or seeing the nerf back, there would be something, as you said, to compensate. I think it was even mentioned that they were going to like bring the points of swarms down, which never happened, which would be a natural thing to hit the bigger monsters, but then make the smaller monsters, let's say, easier to pick. Never happened. So, and the additional nerfs to units that haven't even seen play. Old One Eye, well, Carnifex probably played something, but still, come on, GW.
He's got the keyword. He does. Fuck him.
Exactly. Winners.
Actually, I'll let Vitalis choose a loser and maybe a winner as well if he has one in mind, and I'll have a little think.
I think the loser is pretty hard to pick in this slate. We can pick like 5 losers for different reasons. But if I have to pick one, I'm forced to go with the Tyranids, even though they really fucking deserved it. They are the biggest loser from those changes. For the winner, aside from Marines, that I think that are the biggest winner, but they also deserved it. I think that one of the biggest winners is actually Imperial Guard. That's the faction we skipped right now, and that's gonna be also another boogeyman in the meta, in the upcoming meta, because they are unchanged. And like we mentioned, 30 Lemon Russes is gonna be a thing right now. And the points are not changed, the rules are not changed. They even have a slight buff in the secondaries, and they are basically Tau on steroids right now.
Yeah, and I'll just go because we agree on the loser. So I'm just gonna do a like special mention of the armies that I think we're going to see more or coming back. One I think is Admech. And again, change my mind, but I think giving core to Cataphrons will make them appear on the tables more. AOC being gone again will make all their units more viable again. And I've seen Gogi, our like primary Admech player in the Polish Discord, being very happy about the changes, so I trust him on that.
Don't forget they also got the 5+ invul right now.
Yeah, so I mean, honorable mention. Same goes for Custodes, because I think their Terminators again have OPSEC, which does make them more powerful, and we will see more Terminators probably. And they get to use their stratagems that they were not allowed to use, I guess, like turning off rerolls of hits and wounds, which again buffs them a bit. So if there is anyone, I have one player in mind who used to play Harlequins and feels the nerfs are too strong. He will go back to playing Custodes, which was his primary army, and I think that's something that we're going to see on the tables more. And the last special mention, or like honorable mention, is GSC, because we didn't mention it, but I also think that changes of points, changes of ambush, nerfs of the things that usually would hit GSC, and doing away with planes all this just makes GSC more viable right now. So to me, those are the 3 armies that we forgot to mention, but absolutely we are going to see more of them on the tables. Well, maybe not GSC because they are unpopular and quite uncommon army, but the other 2, definitely way more is going to appear on tournaments.
Okay, so I guess back to me. Or I can cheat like that as well and also mention more armies. So I think Votann were also untouched, and good for them.
I think they lost the secondary. Or
Yeah, they
something.
lost the secondary.
Oh, did they? I thought
Yeah,
they had crap secondaries anyway.
The one that was pretty decent was removed.
Okay, good. Good for them. And they got a point hike on the fortress, but other than that, I think they're untouched. So compared to other armies, that's okay, fine. If you want to disagree, then let's drop them. I think Orks might see a resurgence. The secondaries got even better than they were. Whereas, well, you've mentioned Custodes already. I thought that they might be interesting. I think there are more losers, and that's knights of both flavors.
Yeah.
Has anything changed for them?
0 points changes.
And that's the problem.
Which for me was a big disappointment. I was really hoping that at least the big guys would get a points reduction. I don't know about the Imperial Knights, but the Chaos Knights have had slight improvements in the secondaries. But with Votann, Guard, potentially still Tau around, Knights are not going to see play.
Actually, the Guard is not their problem. The Votanns are. Because
you just said Guard are Tau on steroids, and Tau just screw Knights in the back hole easily. So Tau on steroids will probably do it even more so.
Yeah, maybe that's my wishful thinking of playing Knights.
Could be.
What can I say? I love the big guys.
No, I'm laughing.
You all know me. I don't leave a house without a big model.
Anyway, as a side note, I wanted to mention that World Eaters actually appear in the Arks of Omen book with quite decent secondaries. So yeah, hopefully the book's right around the corner, and we'll see what they can do.
I think it's the next one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
And then it's 10th edition.
Yep, so they say.
Even bigger, yay.
Right, so how do you guys feel in general about the changes? I mean, we talked about which factions are, in our opinions, the winners and losers, but what's your general takeaways? Happy, not happy? Tweek.
I'm very happy because it's like a hard reset. It's like everyone needs to sit down now without Battlescribe, with Excel, and actually, start building armies from scratch. There are so many possibilities now to build armies, so many builds that we cannot even foresee that people are going to come up with. Units that perhaps haven't seen the light of day for a longer while might come back. Like I don't know why, but I dread that we're going to see Space Marines armies with a lot of snipers, which are heavy weapons again, which is going to be a nightmare for armies with characters that don't have invulnerable saves. So somehow I feel that this is going to happen and it's going to be my nightmare again. But yeah, as I said, any shakeup to the status quo, and I think we've had a status quo for a while now, any changes that force all the players, literally all the players, to sit down and reinvent what they are doing and find new approaches to the game is welcome, and for that I'm thankful. So yeah, I'm really happy with the changes.
Vitalis?
You know my opinion about the previous meta. For me, it was so dreadful that I basically skipped a month or 2 months of playing 40k for Sigmar. So I haven't touched Sigmar since new rules dropped, so that's I think telling everything how hyped up I am for the new changes. Yeah, basically Tweek said it all. Everything is new. Everyone is confused. No one knows what will be really good, what won't be really good, aside from obvious things like 40 lemon grasses or 50 terminators or something like that. But yeah, it's gonna be as good as we can get without resetting an edition right now.
Oh, funny you mentioned that because I'm wondering exactly what will happen when 10th will drop. I think I expected a bit more from these changes. Well, definitely more of a shake-up in secondaries. Well, probably point reductions on knights, and because they weren't really dominant anyway, and it's just disappointing to see them almost completely untouched. But again, this is another like evolution of the system, and maybe there's just no idea where to go with it further. So or just the opposite, 10th will keep being an evolution of a system that might be in GW's eyes close to perfection.
God, no, please.
So I'm really interested where that takes us. But well, for now, yeah, there's been some change. We'll see how significant it is. It seems that it might be a bit more significant than I initially thought. So that's good. But
Yeah, I
yeah,
would say 70 to 80% of the changes that we are seeing right now, first of all, seem well thought through, and second of all, do not seem to be crazy knee-jerk reactions, which I think is something that we all wanted, is something that we will all welcome. So if GW continues like this, then the future data slates or the 10th edition might actually turn out okay.
I'm just a bit annoyed with a little bit of back and forth going on because, you know, Nephilim kind of suppressed the amount of CPs you had and the options in terms of army building, and now this is kind of, well, actually it's good that you have more options, but it's kind of like a no limits thing, so it's, you know, almost extremes, which can be a bit shaky, I think, at the end of the day.
I guess we need time to see.
The no limit thing is also pretty deceptive because, like we mentioned, with the Dark Angels, with the Tau losing the commander just because it's no limits right now, and yeah, there are some hidden limits that players will start to find out that their old builds are gone and limited by the new changes. So it's not such an no limits take everything as we thought initially.
And maybe you're right. All right, gents, thanks for today. With that, let's take our opinions to the gaming tables and see how they stand up against our opponents. And guys, if you'd like us to cover the rest of the factions, so like probably the other half of existing factions in 40k, let us know. We'll try to talk about them as well if you're interested in our opinion. Other than that, please remember to like, subscribe, hit the bell button, and whatever else comes to mind in terms of social media jazz, because that really helps us grow. And
yeah, first of all, do comment and let us know if we are mistaken about our predictions. I mean, in the end, time will tell, but we're happy to have a discussion in the comment section as well.
Yes, totally agree. Okay, so with that, again, thanks guys. That was Vitalis.
Yeah, thank you guys. See ya.
Tweek.
Over and out.
And myself, Joker, with the first episode of Contact Lost in this calendar year. We'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.